Another significant severe weather threat looks to be in place for next weekend, with damaging winds, large hail, and even a few tornadoes not being out of the question. So, in this forecast, we're going to be breaking down everything that you need to know about this system, as well as a couple others that are going to be coming before that, and a major winter storm threat for portions of the Midwest. So let's go ahead and get right into it, starting off with the Storm Prediction Center outlook for tomorrow here, because we don't really have any major risks for today. We have had some broad rotation in California with a few funnel clouds reported, but nothing too significant. But anyway, tomorrow we have a marginal risk of severe weather for sections of eastern Nebraska and northern Iowa. This is driven solely by a large hail threat. We're going to be talking about the threat for hail of quarter size or even slightly larger than that. So if you're in this area tomorrow, make sure that you're bringing your cars inside, as it does look like we could have some potentially window-shattering hail at times. Now, moving into Wednesday, we're actually going to see quite a potent severe weather threat for sections of the Ohio River Valley, as a day 3 slight risk of severe weather has been issued for sections of eastern Illinois, western Indiana, and extreme southern Lake Michigan, with a marginal risk surrounding that, extending all the way from portions of Iowa back down into parts of the lower Mississippi Valley. So we're going to break down the threats that brings later on in this forecast, but before we do that, we need to talk about this very rare situation that we have, where the Storm Prediction Center has issued a day 7 slight risk of severe weather there for sections of the southern plains and portions of western Dixie. Now, I do think that this slight risk actually could get extended a little bit further off to the north based off of recent model guidance, but again, we are very far away from this event, so just be prepared if you are in this area, as it does look like we could have a pretty significant severe weather threat for this weekend, again, especially across sections of Dixie Alley and the Mississippi Valley there. So anyway, moving on to the NAM 3KM model here for our severe weather threat in the Midwest, as well as our big-time winter storm potential. We can see that the NAM right now actually does have a few snow showers convecting across sections of northern Minnesota, but that's not really going to accumulate too much. The bigger system comes starting tomorrow morning here, where we start to see some very heavy snow entering sections of the Dakotas there, kind of spilling into portions of northern Nebraska as we go into the evening time hours tomorrow, and eventually, again, maybe a few thunderstorms develop there, coming strong to severe in the overnight hours tomorrow into Wednesday across sections of Nebraska, Iowa, and maybe even back down into portions of central Kansas there, with, again, very heavy snow on the backside of this system. By Wednesday morning, we are potentially dealing with a full-on winter storm here across sections of northwest Iowa, southeastern South Dakota, eastern Nebraska, back into parts of southern Minnesota, and again, a few more strong to severe storms can definitely not be ruled out across sections of Iowa and Wisconsin, but the greater severe weather threat comes starting Wednesday afternoon, as we start to see a few strong to severe thunderstorms develop across sections of the Mississippi River there, with a very strong low pressure system dipping down to 982 millibars, which is quite significant for this time of the year, although it doesn't sound like it, admittedly, as we have just had very, very intense systems move through the Midwest lately. But again, these storms are going to become quite discrete, so an isolated tornado or two could not be ruled out across sections of Illinois and maybe eastern Missouri as far east as western Indiana. However, the environmental features are not quite there. We're not going to be talking about a whole lot of wind shear in this region, but I did pull a few soundings from this area, and a marginal tornado threat could potentially exist there for sections of the Midwest on Wednesday. If necessary, we will do a live stream, but either way, it does look like we are going to be talking about significant damaging winds with this line, and that will continue through sections of Indiana, Kentucky, and even portions of southern and central Michigan back through parts of Ohio, gradually weakening as it makes its way through the Ohio River Valley. But by Wednesday night into Thursday morning here, a lot of that snow is actually going to be falling in portions of Illinois and Wisconsin here, so we are legitimately going to be dealing with a situation where areas are seeing thunderstorms, strong to severe, and potentially even a couple of tornadoes, and then 6 hours later, heavy snowfall. This is not a very common situation to see here, especially for a late March setup like this, but again, that big blast of cold air is going to punch through sections of Illinois and potentially create an environment where some heavy snowfall could be possible at times. Now, the HRRR does have a little bit of a different view for this system here. This is the 18Z run. The 0Z run is just now coming out at the time of filming. Again, heavy snow starts to develop across the Dakota state line there as we go into early sections of tomorrow morning, but it has a lot more rain mixing in than the NAM model does. By the time you get into Nebraska, you're really only talking about rain there, but again, maybe a few thunderstorms back into portions of Kansas being possible. Now, the severe weather threat doesn't really look to be in place on the NAM, or on the HRRR model here, again, we're going to be talking about mostly snow and freezing rain there for sections of western Iowa, as where the NAM had some heavy thunderstorms. So again, it all comes down to the 1 degree differences. If it is 1 degree cooler, we could be dealing with a situation like the HRRR ones, where we're seeing a bunch of freezing rainfall across sections of western Iowa, or we could be talking about what the what the NAM is saying, and seeing some strong to severe thunderstorms. It really all comes down to that 1 degree difference. So we got to be on the lookout there for that kind of stuff. But anyway, this is what the NAM model has in terms of total snowfall accumulations for anybody wondering. Now remember, this is not going to accumulate super impressively, as surfaces are going to likely be above 32 degrees for most of the areas where we see the heaviest snow. But it is significant to note that we are talking about the potential for localized regions getting up to a foot of snow across sections of Nebraska, South Dakota, and Iowa. A general 6 to 9 inches being possible across most of those regions as well, and then maybe some heavier bands of snow back up into the UP of Michigan as that lake effect snow kind of kicks in there and becomes quite strong and heavy at times. We could potentially see elevated snow totals in the regions that occurs, like Marquette, Michigan, for example. So the HRRR model here does not go quite as far out, so we can't see the final snow totals for places like Illinois and Wisconsin, but we do see, again, that kind of similar situation there where we're dealing with localized regions getting close to a foot of snow there across sections of potentially eastern Nebraska / western Iowa, again, a very small swath of a foot plus of snow there. But we are going to be talking about a general 6 to 9 inches extending all the way back from southeast Minnesota back into portions of Nebraska there. Now, the HRRR model, again, doesn't fully load in here for sections of the UP of Michigan, but in general, it looks like it's showing not quite as intense of a lake effect snow threat. So we'll see what plays out with that. I will say it does have a pretty impressive little signal there for a good 9 inches of snow along the Montana-South Dakota state line. So we'll watch out for that. But finally, I do want to go ahead and take a look at the watches, warnings, and advisories that we have in effect right now across the country, because quite frankly, they are getting ridiculous. We have red flag warnings extending from Texas back into sections of Illinois there in the pink shaded boxes, all the way back through portions of South Dakota as well, mind you. Winter storm watches in those blue shaded regions from parts of Nebraska and the UP of Michigan. Again, I would not be surprised to see those expand a little bit further off to the north as well in the portions of further into South Dakota and maybe portions of central Minnesota as well. So we'll watch out for that. We do have some high wind warnings in effect for sections of New Mexico, southeast Colorado, and the Oklahoma and Texas panhandles. And again, that is what is significantly fueling our big time fire danger out here. So again, if you're out here, please avoid burning over the next few days as things look to get even more intense. We are talking about an extremely critical risk for wildfires tomorrow, actually, across sections of Texas and New Mexico. So again, avoid burning at all costs. I mean, we have seen far too many devastating wildfires across sections of especially Oklahoma and Texas over the past few days that could have been easily preventable if people had taken the proper precautions. But anyway, before we end off this video here, I do want to quickly thank all of our channel members. As always, if you'd like to become a member, make sure to do so by clicking the link down in the description. Again, you're going to get access to exclusive content as well as members-only shoutouts at the end of every single video, and it costs as little as $4.99 a month. So again, huge thank you to everybody that has become a member on the Davis Does Weather channel. But yeah, that's about all I've got for you guys today. Remember, if anything's too significant does go down over the next couple of weeks, we will always be live here on the Davis Does Weather channel. We did about 15 hours of live severe weather coverage this weekend, on top of me getting some pretty incredible footage of damage from a strong tornado that impacted my region. So make sure to check that video out if you've not already. A lot of you guys really seem to enjoy that. But yeah, that's all I've got for you guys today. So again, thank you all for watching this video, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.